I wasn't a good man. Not because I fell in with the wrong crowd. Not because someone dragged me down. Every choice I made was mine. At the sentencing, the judge didn't mince words. Called me the most calculated man he'd ever seen in his courtroom. Life without parole. No visitors, no second chances. They buried me in concrete and steel, locked the door, and threw away the key. That should have been the end of my story. Until she walked in. That day, the guards didn't say a word. Just showed up, opened my cell, and pulled me out like a bag of trash. 2 on either side of me, another pair behind. We moved through the corridors, walls sweating under flickering fluorescent lights. Doors slid open with keycard scans, each one more secure than the last. Then we stopped, a reinforced door ahead. One guard stepped forward, tapped a code, and unlocked it. Cold air rolled out like it didn't belong down here. Inside, a table was bolted to the floor. 2 chairs, one empty, one already occupied. She was waiting. Her eyes were locked on mine before I even sat down. She wore a gray pinstripe suit, hair pulled tight, skin pale and perfect. Didn't smile, didn't blink, just nodded once, and the guards chained me to the table. She didn't bother with introductions. "Do you want to rot in here until your skin flakes off your bones?" Her voice was sharp, rehearsed, professional. "Or do you want a chance?" I didn't say anything. She slid a folder across the table. It was thick, clipped together. My hands barely moved in the shackles, but she didn't care. "There's a cave," she said, tapping the folder. "Deepest we've ever discovered. Way beyond any known geological formation. First team we sent in didn't come back." She stared at me, unblinking. "We think it's biological, maybe even sentient. Whatever it is, it killed them." Then she opened the folder. Photos. Aerial shots of jagged mountain ranges. Environmental suits, gear, and then darkness. Granny stills of tunnels that looked like the inside of a dying world. "We could send trained personnel, but they're too valuable to risk." Her eyes didn't waver. "You're a murderer, a terrorist. You're already dead. If this works, we'll find another one like you. Cheaper that way." She folded her hands. "You won't go in alone. You'll be briefed, armed, monitored. We'll send you down with 3 others. If you survive and complete the contract, you walk free. Clean record, new life." She tapped the folder again. "You choose where to go after." My first instinct was to laugh. I hadn't seen the sky in over 10 years. Hadn't breathed air that didn't come through a filter. So no, I didn't ask what the contract was. Didn't ask how many had already died. Didn't care how many had already died. I was already a ghost. If this got me out, even for a moment, it was more than I had. "Fine," I said. "Strap me in." She nodded. I felt a needle in my neck before I could react. Something cold spread through my spine, and then nothing. I woke in a white room. Clean sheets, smooth ceiling, a soft glow from a hidden panel, no visible lights. Before I could sit up, a man in sterile scrubs entered and motioned for me to follow. He didn't speak. He led me down a short hallway and into a briefing room. 4 chairs facing a massive screen. 3 were already occupied. First guy had Hollis on his shirt, tattoos up to the wrists, jaw unshaven, legs spread wide like he owned the place. He glanced at me, smirked, and looked away. Next to him sat Drew, thick, quiet, muscles everywhere. He didn't even acknowledge me, just stared forward like the screen already had something to show him. The third? A woman. Smaller, shoulders hunched, nervous energy radiating off her like heat. She twitched, head jerking every few seconds, hands clenched and released. Little sounds slipped from her mouth like involuntary gasps.
Nobody spoke when I sat down. The lights dimmed. The screen blinked on. After the presentation, nothing but vague footage, static sensor data, and dark rock, we were moved to another room. No chairs this time, just a long steel table. At the far end stood a man in black uniform, holding a tablet and a remote. "You're going underground," he said flatly. "You'll be monitored. Audio, video, vitals, all of it." Then he looked at the woman with the twitches. "Your guide is Wren. She was on the first mission." That got Hollis's attention. "She ran," he said with a grin. "We're going in with a coward." Wren flinched, shoulders jerked. But she didn't say a word. "She didn't see the attack," the man continued. "She left early, was found wandering near the base days later." "We're trusting her again?" Hollis laughed. "She bolted before the thing even showed up." The man didn't respond. "You are explorers. You're being given an opportunity. Stick to the plan. Do what she says. Don't improvise." If we played by the rules, maybe, just maybe, we'd make it out. They loaded us into a windowless truck. Just noise and vibration. No clue where we were going. Wren and I sat across from each other. She stayed quiet, leg bouncing like it had a mind of its own. "Are you okay?" I asked. She blinked, then nodded. "Yeah, no, not really. It's hard sometimes," she admitted. "You were there before," I said. She nodded again. "I got scared, that's all. Didn't see anything. Just left." "Still don't know why?" "I've tried to figure it out. Maybe I sensed something. Maybe I avoided dying." She looked up. "Are you scared of going back?" Her energy shifted, full of life for a second. "Of course I am. Something killed them." And then she shrank again. "They said I broke contract. Now I'm required to go back in." She hesitated. "What about you? Why are you really here?" "I lit some buildings on fire." Didn't tell her the rest. "Do you regret it?" I paused, watched her face. Yeah, I guess so." She searched my eyes, then gave a small nod and looked away. The truck finally stopped. But they didn't open the doors. Not yet. We waited in silence. Then daylight burst in.
The sun hit harder than I expected. 10+ years underground had made my eyes allergic to it. I raised a hand to block the glare and squinted at what lay ahead. A dozen figures in full hazard suits waited near a jagged cliffside. A chain-link gate had been rigged into the rock, like someone punched a hole through the mountain and decided to bury the key inside. Beside the gate, crates, weapons, gear. Real ones, not rubber bullets or shackles. I picked up a shotgun and a sidearm. Hollis practically dove for the automatic rifle and grinned when no one tried to stop him. "They gave the prison crew guns," he muttered, half in disbelief, half in amusement. Drew stayed calm, slung a bandolier of shells over his shoulder like he'd done it 1,000 times. Wren didn't take anything. She just stood there, small, pale, eyes darting from crate to cliff and back again. "What about her?" Hollis said, gesturing at Wren. "She even coming? What if we take her hostage, walk her out, ask for a chopper or something?" His voice carried a little too much confidence for someone who was only half joking. One of the hazmat guards turned his helmet toward him, just a tilt, and Hollis shut up instantly. Still grinning, but quieter. Then came the final briefing. The man in the hazard suit laid it out clearly. Once we entered, the doors would seal. No communication, no rescue, no turning back until the scheduled extraction window. If we left early, we'd be locked in with whatever was down there. They pointed to the cave entrance. Calling it a hole was generous. It was a crack, a slit in the stone barely wide enough to squeeze through. No fanfare, no prayers, no last words. We went in. The rock closed around us like a mouth swallowing light. Tunnels twisted and narrowed, some barely shoulder width. Others opened into wide caverns where our headlamps barely touched the ceiling. Ren led the way. She had a laminated map strapped to her thigh and a glowing tablet strapped to her chest. Her hands were steady, but her shoulders never quite relaxed. The first few hours passed in silence, not the peaceful kind, the heavy kind. Every footstep echoed, every breath sounded like a shout. The deeper we went, the more the air changed, denser, like it was watching us. Eventually, we reached a flattened section where the tunnel widened and the walls showed signs of collapse. Broken sediment, orange tags half buried under the dust. Ren pointed to the edge. This was the first checkpoint. We're stopping here for the night. We unpacked, rolled out sleeping mats, ate something tasteless. Drew leaned against a boulder and fell asleep in minutes. Ren came and sat next to me. "I don't want to be near them," she whispered. "Yeah, I get it. Maybe I'm just being paranoid again, but what if they try something? Hollis scares me. Drew too, honestly." I looked over. Hollis was snoring, mouth open. Drew still sat motionless, but something about the way his fingers tapped against his thigh made me uneasy. "Then let's stick together. You and me." She exhaled slowly, nodded, then lowered her head and muttered something I couldn't quite hear. Morning came without warning. None of us talked, just stood up, packed our things, and kept moving. The tension was constant now. Every shadow a question, every sound a warning. The deeper we went, the stranger it all became.
A few hours in, the terrain changed. The tunnel leveled off and the walls expanded outward. Not just wider, taller, grander, like something had deliberately carved the space to resemble a cathedral. That's when we saw it. A trail. A thin metallic vein stretched across the floor, winding with the shape of the rock like a liquid metal river that had solidified mid-pour. Silver gray, dull, but unmistakably unnatural. Ren crouched near it. "This wasn't here before," she said, "but it matches something we detected in a satellite scan. Rhodium deposits. Really rare, really unstable." "Worth anything?" Drew asked. She didn't answer, but we could tell the answer was yes. We walked further. The trails multiplied. Some looped along the walls. Others arched over us like vines turned to steel. It was like we were inside a dead machine and the blood vessels had turned to metal. We entered a vast chamber. The ceiling was so high the headlamps couldn't find it. Golden veins shimmered along the walls, crisscrossing with something darker, something black and wet-looking. That's when I heard it. Clicking. Fast. Sharp. It echoed from behind us. I turned and froze. It was crawling, all fours like an animal, but as it entered the chamber it rose, limbs twisting with unnatural grace. Its arms were too long, too thin, ends like serrated blades. Its skin shimmered like oil poured over steel. Its head. Elongated. Wrong. The jaw opened downward and split, 4 pieces peeling apart like a flower blooming in reverse. Molten silver dripped from its mouth and hissed on the rock. It paused, tilted its head. It was listening. Hollis fired first. Stupid. A full burst, then Drew joined in. The cavern lit up with muzzle flashes and noise. The creature didn't move. Then it did. Fast, like gravity didn't apply. Hollis laughed, half a sound before it reached him. One slash, legs gone. Another, chest open like a cabinet door. Drew fired until his rifle clicked empty. The thing turned toward him. I ran. Didn't wait. Didn't scream. Ren saw me move and followed, shaking with every step. Her tics were worse, louder, sharper. I pulled her behind a rock wall near a junction, her whole body convulsed. "Stop," I whispered. "Please, just stop. It's blind. It hears us. That's how it finds us." She nodded, clenched her jaw, shaking violently but trying. We moved again. Slow. Every breath felt like it echoed for miles. The metallic veins on the ground glowed faintly now, like they were feeding on our fear. Then the tunnel narrowed again. We followed it down. Deeper.
The air changed. Heavier. Thicker. Hotter. Not just from exertion. We were going down. Really down. My boots skidded across loose stone as we slid into a steep decline. The walls pressed closer. The light from our gear didn't reach far. We rounded a corner, and the world fell open. A cavern. No, a chasm. A place so wide it didn't feel real. And at the center of it, a lake. But not water, not lava. Metal. It shimmered like molten chrome, swirling silver and gold, blue and black bleeding into each other like it was alive. Heat poured off it, but somehow not enough to kill us. It made no sense. My gloves felt damp. My back was soaked. I was sweating like a furnace, but I wasn't burning. Ren and I froze. Nothing made sense anymore. Then, clicking. Again. Closer. I grabbed her arm and pulled her behind a ridge of stone. It barely counted as cover. It would block sight, maybe muffle sound. That's all we had. Her body started convulsing, harder this time. Hands over her mouth, shoulders jerking, eyes wide with terror. "Ren, you have to stop. You have to." She nodded frantically. Sweat poured down her face, but her body wouldn't stop. The air changed again. The creature had entered the chamber. I could feel it. The way you feel pressure shift before a storm, like the atmosphere itself recognized a predator. Ren looked at me, desperation in her eyes. She reached out. Fingers curled around my arm. Her nails dug through the fabric. She was trying so hard, but I could hear her breathing, see her trembling. Then her lips moved. A sound escaped. Just a little. A tiny, involuntary yelp. I closed my eyes. Made a choice. Raised the shotgun. She saw it. Shook her head. Mouth open. No sound. But her eyes screamed. I pulled the trigger. Her head snapped to the side. Her body crumpled like paper. Blood sprayed against the rock behind us. Her body hit the ground with a soft, final thud. Silence. Then, motion. The creature landed on top of the ridge, right above me. I didn't breathe. Didn't move. Its tail, metallic, segmented, slithered past my arm. It crouched over Ren's body, sniffing, inspecting. Then it lifted her, like she weighed nothing, and walked toward the lake. I peeked around the rock. It was descending into the metallic pool, her body still in its grip. The lake rose to meet it.
not splashing, folding upward, wrapping around its form like liquid skin. Then, gone. The surface stilled, like nothing had ever broken it.
I didn't wait, didn't process. I ran. I traced the route in reverse, one hand on the rock to guide my turns. Everything looked different now, twisted by panic, shadow, trauma. Eventually, I reached the chamber where Drew had fallen. His body was folded unnaturally across a boulder, his chest split open. I only recognized him by his boots. A few feet away, Hollis lay in pieces. One arm still clutched his rifle. His other arm, gone. I kept moving. By the time I saw the faint blue light near the entrance, I was half dead. Couldn't feel my legs. Could barely breathe. 2 guards stood at the threshold, faceless, behind mirrored helmets. They didn't speak, just watched as I staggered toward them. When I crossed the final line, I dropped to my knees. One of them removed the shotgun from my back. The other collected my body cam. Then they pulled me up. No words, just procedure. Later, I was seated again. Same woman, same suit, same pale face. "We reviewed your footage," she said. "Your documentation exceeded expectations." She flipped through a folder, casual, like she was checking a grocery list. What happened to Ren was unfortunate. She didn't sound sorry. She closed the file and slid it aside. "You've done your part." She gestured to the door behind me. A hallway. Bright. Too bright. Another man, black uniform, cold eyes, walked me through 2 checkpoints. No alarms, no resistance. He handed me an envelope. Inside, travel documents, a debit card, a single page with my new identity. Then he opened a final door. The sun hit again, less painful this time, and I realized something. I was outside. Free. No escort, no chains, no tricks. Just a man. Alone. I walked. Didn't look back. The facility shrank behind me. Just a dark speck at the edge of stone. No one followed. No one would. I was free, but I would never be the same.